So, welcome to the Ecom Growth Show, where we cut through the chaos of ecom growth and show you how to build a business that scales and supports the life that you actually want. I'm your host, Brittany, former boutique owner turned growth strategist for ecom owners like yourself. And today I'm joined by co-founders of Shopanova and Bloom, Robby Switzer and Daniel Stafford. We created this podcast to pull back the curtain on what's really working to grow Shopify brands to consistent 100K plus months without burnout or guesswork. Whether you're getting traction or scaling fast, this show is designed to help you simplify, focus, and grow with purpose. Okay, so if you're an ambitious CEO listening right now, then you've most likely been believing this lie for a little while now. I know that I had for a really long time, that hustle culture is the way to find success. Well, today we're going to be unpacking a true growth hack that I like to call the power of the pause. So if you left your 9 to 5 and now you're working 24/7, or if you're looking to scale your ecom brand to $100,000 months and beyond, and you're ready to shift into a new way of thinking, then this episode was crafted just for you. We'll be peeling back the layers of what scaling your business while maintaining balance in your life looks like logistically. So the step-by-step process and how to make that happen. I've worked with hundreds of ecom owners and boutique owners, and this is the principle I absolutely love to teach, the power of the pause. So what is the power of the pause? It's a simple reminder that when you feel overwhelmed or stuck or just feel overall resistance in your business, to give yourself the pause that you need to regulate your nervous system and come back better than ever. And it could just look like a 5-minute break or just a personal timeout or a walk. It could look like a long weekend with family, a week away, or even a month. So recently, guys, you just experienced the power of the pause yourselves as business owners. You took a month away from the business to focus on your families, yourselves, and realign yourselves for a stronger year. So diving into that, tell me how you got there. So most people don't typically start with a month taking off, but I'd love to know a little bit about the why behind it and kind of the story of how you ended up taking a whole month away from your business.
That's good. I'd
Hey,
say for
Rob.
starters,
Rob,
sorry,
before
Dan.
you just jump in, because I'm sure you're excited to talk about that one, I must say, Brittany, you have just the sweetest podcast voice. I mean, it just the way it's hitting me today is special. So I got to say that before we get going.
Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Hopefully, everyone else can resonate with that.
that's good. What I was going to say, which had to be said, Dan, so thank you so much. What I was going to say is it happened by design. So like we wanted a business where we could take a month off. But I think what I realized as we were doing it is it's actually really necessary and helpful for the business to do that. So how we got there, number one, we dreamed of it. You know, you're really big on talking about having a vision and getting real clear on what that is. Well, for us, it's like at least once a year, we're going to take a month off. And that kind of led us towards putting in the infrastructure for that to happen. Part of that is having director level people inside of our company, and then also just like a really good operator. And so we have our COO, who's Josh Garvey, and he's so awesome because like the way that he judges his own performance is, you know, how free do Robby and Dan feel? It's like, man, I feel so blessed to have him on our team and for the way he thinks about that. But that's kind of how we got there. I think what's cool though is when you take a month off, you're really able to exist outside of the constraints in the business. There's a whole process I feel like we could unpack here, just like how I experienced the month off, that whole journey. But just to kind of hit one of the quick highlights for me, is it just gives you the opportunity to view the business outside of the constraints inside of the day-to-day. It's almost like giving you the ability to solve problems without the current rules you have to follow. It's like I can go out and I can play and I can dream and I don't have to think about the pressures of like what I can and can't do based on the current status of the business. I can actually think from a much more infinite place, which I just think is super cool and super helpful.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's such a good conversation, though, and topic because, when you get into entrepreneurship, at least me, I started listening to guys like Gary Vaynerchuk, Alex Hermosi, pretty much anyone, name the name. And it's all about like this hustle, grind culture, work over everything. By the way, I love those guys. I've learned a lot from them. But it's like, that's not what I want to do. I don't want to work 100 hours a week and be locked in a white room with caffeine on a Sunday afternoon just to build out a funnel. Like, that sounds horrible to me. So put me on a journey of like, isn't there more maybe? Isn't life more than just business? Can I have a good business that serves the actual life I want to live instead of making my entire life about business? So I think me and Robbie were intentional early on of like, dude, we got into business so that way we could spend more time with our families, raise our kids, love on our wives well, while also generating income so we can have fun, meaningful experiences. So that's where it was all birthed from. And then very early on, we were intentional about just setting constraints on how much we worked within the business,
Hmm.
which actually made us build systems that made us more efficient. So that way we could actually do the things we said we wanted to do.
Yeah. Well, that's great. A lot of times I feel like when business owners jump in and they're scaling and they're in that, like, I don't know, grind phase, so to speak, it's like they're going through and just focusing on how can I do more versus how can I work smarter is actually a lot of what scaling really looks like. It's how can I work smarter, create systems, and then delegate to team members to actually get beyond where I am. I know a lot of brands at that $50,000, $60,000 a month mark, that's one of their major hangups is they don't have the systems and the team and the ability to delegate yet, in order to actually like grow into something more. But it does sound like you guys started the business with, hey, this is our intention, this is our goal, and this is what we're going to do. So I think for anyone listening, that's like a great first point. Like you need to believe it can happen, and that's going to be part of your goal.
Hmm.
Yeah. I know you spent a lot of time, Brittany, meeting with those people and basically getting them to pause and think, like, what do you want? Because you're just spending all your energy thinking about your day to day problems right now. And that's only going to get worse as revenue grows.
Yeah.
Like a lot of what we tell our clients is pause, think, take a deep breath, go on a walk. And it's going to give you so much more clarity on how to tackle the right problems in your business.
Hmm.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes when we're just so close to the issue or the problem and we're already burnt out anyway, it just leads to more personal frustration and burnout. Versus, I've had this happen over and over and over with clients. Like, I'm like, just go for a walk or go outside, play with your kids for a little. And they come back from doing that activity and they're like, oh my gosh, I had the best idea of how I can, generate more sales or whatever that problem they were looking to overcome, it just becomes so much more clearer. And
Hmm.
then in a way that's so much happier than
Yeah.
being aggravated and staring at your computer and you and ChatGPT having a whole marketing discussion together. Like you could be outside playing with your kids and come up with the answer for yourself
Hmm.
too. So, yeah, it's super important.
Yeah, and I think even in that, it creates a response to what's happening too, and not just constant state of reaction, right? It just helps
Yeah.
you shift from the knee jerk reactions to actually intentional responses that are going to have much more longevity and probably work a lot better than just staying in reactionary mode, which is a loop that's super easy to get caught up in.
Hmm.
Oh yeah, that's so good. Digging in to taking a full month off. Like, is that where you guys started or did it start more with like just taking a day off consistently and then maybe like a week, or what was that flow for you?
Yeah, I think it started even at smaller levels than that, where it was like just structuring how I wanted a normal workday to look. um, creating buffers for meetings where it was like we used to do sales calls with no buffers, and it was just like back to back 8 calls for 8 hours and then go home. You'd be like so brain fried by the end of it. It's like, oh, let's put a buffer in there. Let's put a lunch break in. Eventually that turned into what when is a good time during the day for me to exercise, and engineering that, not just into the workday, but like when am I waking up? When am I going home? And kind of like Where are my margins for the life that I want to build? That kind of allowed us to hit a rhythm where we were able to think straight and actually start to generate some levels of efficiency inside of our business, where it's like you kind of ride the winds, where it's like, okay, we're doing this, we put some constraints, let's see how it works. And then you have to fight through the challenge of that, because initially it's hard. It's hard to remove working hours, it's hard to put constraints on. So then you lean into that challenge and you actually develop an efficiency. And then that efficiency yields a little better results, and you kind of like do that again. So once we went from there, it was like, okay, what about this month? Do we want to go on any camping trips? And it was just kind of a lot of conversations between me and Daniel of like, how much time off? What do we want our day to look like? How much time off per month do we want? Do we want to take a couple 3-day weekends here and there? And then even in the grand scope of a year, like what kind of family vacations do we want to take? Stuff like that. And you kind of just work your way up to it. And I know for me, it's really, we've gone through a lot of ups and downs inside of business. And you mentioned, you talk with a lot of business owners that are kind of on the verge of burnout, because business is hard, and it's hard to be like putting yourself out there and taking all that risk and like having the pressure to provide for your family inside of that. And so it's burnout is very, very common. And I know for me, the first part of me taking that month off, I was just like decompressing. Like I wasn't thinking about solutions. I wasn't thinking about work at all. I was literally just decompressing. But that never happens if you're not intentional about the rest that you take, because there's a difference between resting and just like distracting yourself from the thing that you're burning out on. Because I know it's like so tempting, like you can get so burnt out where it's like the only thing I have capacity for is to sit in the bath, eat ice cream, and scroll on Instagram. It's like you get but to the end of that and you're like, you're not ready to go back to work the next day. Like you're actually more fried. That's kind of what I do, I guess. So you got to be intentional about the rest so that it's actually like filling your cup, giving you more life. And then from there, you're not even trying to think about the business. You're not even trying to think about solving the problems that exist inside the business. It just kind of comes naturally from a state of, I would say, almost like just play and like being able to enjoy things.
Mm, yeah, awesome. Okay, so another question. A lot of times it's kind of difficult from like a nervous system standpoint if your normal is just being in that reactionary state constantly, and then you go to take a break, especially when you're trying to do this early on. A lot of times what can happen is our brains are kind of wired to keep us safe, and consistency and our normal is considered safe, even if it's not the best for us or what we actually want. So, what can happen is we go to calm down or to turn it off, and our anxiety can go up because our inner alarm is saying, whoa, we're doing something different. Different is bad. What are you doing? Early on, how did you guys, did you experience that? Like, oh, like it was really difficult to possibly like say no more or to set more boundaries or to take more time off. And then how did you navigate through that? Danny, do
Yeah,
you
it
have
was
any?
very hard because we grew up commercial fishing and manual labor. And so, like, that's a very grind culture, especially fishing. You got to hit it hard while you're there. You're up at 4 a.m., you're fishing till midnight, and you're just doing that all summer. And then you just crash at the end. So, for us, we had to be intentional about breaking that mindset because that's what the temptation was to do in the business. Like, this is what we know. Let's just recreate that. It works over here. Why not here? It's like, that's not what we actually want to build. And then when you go to rest, you feel like you're out of control in a sense because you're not there hoarding over your business. Like you're releasing control in a lot of aspects. And I think the feeling, it's easy to start feeling behind, like your competitors are going to, it's like it feels uneasy because
Mhm,
really the world tells you just to keep grinding at all cost.
Hmm.
But when you're able to step away and realize, like, I'm on my own journey, I'm right on time, you
Hmm.
begin to realize pausing is almost like an act of faith of like, this is going to work out, you know? It feels scary because it is new and you can
Mhm.
feel dysregulated. And I think that's why it's important what Robby was saying of like, if you take a break and then you just medicate on Instagram all day,
Mm,
and like that's not going to help you out. Like a lot of times we use the business to medicate with to avoid other problems in life too. So that's what the pause for me is important of like what areas of life am I avoiding by just being so busy in the business? How can
Mhm.
I step back from everything and just be really present with today now that I'm not so caught up in this? And that's where I resonate with Robbie. It was like 2 weeks of just not thinking about the business to where I was like, finally, like, now I can feel like I can think again. Then all of a sudden I had so much vision and ideas and all these things coming to me, right? And like this new excitement. But I was trying to be intentional about like just creating busyness in the
Yeah.
rest. And it's actually, how can I actually pause?
mhm,
I will say too, like outside voices are so important when it comes to breaking those patterns. Cause for me, like I'm just on autopilot. Like it was hardwired into my soul to just be working every hour. And if I'm not, I think something's wrong. And I remember, so we've been working with this guy for years and years, pretty much since we were in the business. He calls himself a life consultant or a life coach, basically a therapist. And that outside voice is so important because I remember there was this one time I went to Hawaii. I was on vacation, and me being like thinking of myself as the hard worker I am, I'm like, well, I'll keep the meeting on the books, whatever. I'll touch base with him, open up the the virtual call, and I'm in Hawaii. He's like, "Oh, what are you doing?" Like, I'm on vacation. I'm in Hawaii. He's like, "Okay, well, you want to reschedule?" I'm like, "No, dude, I carved out this time. I talked about it with my wife. Like, we're good, and we'll just keep our normal thing." And kind of like, I think my ego was involved. Like, I wanted to keep that meeting just because I didn't want to miss it because I'm a guy who doesn't miss meetings.
mhm.
And he was very thrown off by that. And then this is all me on autopilot. He's like, "Okay, well, tell me about the business." And I'm like, "I'm not really involved in the business right now because I'm on vacation." So I'm like, "Yeah, I want to do more in life. Like I want more purpose in my life." And I'm just kind of like riffing and ranting completely on autopilot, not even like paying attention to the words I'm saying. He goes, "Well, what if like you should be resting while you're on vacation?" Like
Crazy thought.
Crazy thought, dude.
he's like, "Why do you need?" And then started asking all the questions that I had to come face to face with. And it's actually very uncomfortable because I'm breaking my pattern. He's like,
Mhm,
"What if like you being on vacation is not about trying to figure out more you should be doing, but like being happy with some of the things you are doing, or the happy with the fact that you're able to be on vacation with your family? And what if you're actually missing out on that because we're on this call?" And it's like that outside voice is so, so important because I think when you get your ego involved, like for me, I told myself I wanted more freedom and I wanted less working hours, but then I'd go home and I would think, what are my neighbors going to think of me if they see me like off work early? Or on the flip side, it's like when I'm working late and long hours, like deep down in a dark hole, like somewhere in my, I want people to see that and celebrate me for being a hard worker.
mm.
Ego gets involved and you're on autopilot. And so I think if you craft it from a place of clarity, like share that with someone who can be a voice of reason and can hold you accountable to that vision, because you're going to have to battle a lot of internal things on your way into that vision.
So
Yeah,
funny.
for
She
sure.
asked us, she's like, what got you to be able to rest? And we just gave long ass winded answers of basically getting a therapist.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's it.
Can't believe you have a
Yeah.
therapist, dude. What a baby.
Oh my gosh, you guys. But a lot of what you're saying is super relatable though. Like there's a ton of nuggets in there. Okay, I know you guys have done like a lot of inner work and a lot of therapy, so I'm comfortable asking this, but Robbie, you said your identity was more centered in your ego around I am a hard worker. How has that evolved and shifted? Like what is the new way that you view yourself? Is it still that way or has the markers kind of like shifted in what that means for you now?
Yeah, I think initially it was like, how many hours am I willing to punch? And is that above the average of the guys around me?
Yeah.
And it's like, now it's like, what outcomes am I able to create with the resources around me? And the outcomes I'm focused on is things like freedom of time, freedom of resources, freedom of relationship, and freedom of purpose, like the things, like working on the things I actually want to work on. And if I can do those things and kind of blow all the other preconceived rules away, then I feel like I'm doing hard work isn't even the right word. It's more like, am I being effective at what I'm setting out to do? And so I've just kind of rewritten it a little bit to be more in line with the vision and less about just like punching hours, I guess.
Yeah. So the metric is less about how many hours am I working and more about how effective can I be with those hours and how much can I move the needle, so to speak.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is still kind
Awesome.
of effed up, right? I do the same thing, but it's like, then if I'm not performing that, does that mean I still don't like myself?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Totally.
another layer.
It's always another layer of like, oh man, my identity and ego is getting too wrapped up in this again. It's just a different way of it now.
Mm,
Yeah. Can I just be and also be enough? I think is
Totally.
the question that we have.
Yeah.
mhm.
And a big one for me is like comparing myself to others, because then it's easy of like, oh, look at that guy. He hardly works and he has way more money than me, you know? It's like, that's
Yeah,
what I
for
want.
sure.
But now I'm all of a sudden I'm comparing to him based on how much money we have and how many hours we work.
Yeah.
That's just part of like humanness too. Like
Mhm.
part of this is like part of being human. And if you're an entrepreneur, there's a very high likelihood that you're also a high performer,
Yeah,
or else you wouldn't be here to begin with. And high performers are stereotypically very hard on themselves or more apt to compare.
for
So
sure.
it is this balance of like, okay, I am a high performer. That's why we're here. And then it's like, and then how do we also feel comfortable with slowing down
Mhm.
and stepping out of that when we need to as well. So
Mhm.
awesome. So in the past 30 days, I want to ask some questions about like this particular time off. One, we haven't caught up at all. So I'm like really interested to hear. So what did you guys do? Like, what does 30 days off even look like? You're like, we decompressed for 2 weeks. Like, what is that? Were you just in a bathtub with ice cream, Robbie? Like, I'm kind of curious.
No, so first off, we went and visited my parents, which was super awesome. We had some long overdue connection time with them, just family time. We went down to Idaho with my brother and all of his kids. We rented a big house together. So just lots of time in the sun, time on the beach. I was very intentional about like, I'm just going to leave my phone at home during this time. I'd leave it on the nightstand at the rental. And I did that for like a week straight. And then I kind of just started carrying it with me and not really checking it much. I really wasn't checking in on Slack or anything like that. Again, I'm able to do that because we have people like you or Josh or people overlooking things. If we didn't have those people, it might look a little bit different. I'd say it's still possible. It just looks a little bit different. So just lots of play. And then we came home and it was like I could go back to work, but you're kind of tired from taking 5 kids on vacation. And so we actually I didn't come back to work right when I got home. I took a little bit of time off at home, which is really cool because then you're able to, like, for people with families, this is a big deal. Like we were able to reintegrate, hit a rhythm because we're kind of like in a little bit of a different season without school and going and stuff. And so kind of developing a rhythm for us inside of summer where it's not just pure chaos and like always going all the time. Like that was really cool to develop as a family and just kind of like slowly work my way back into the office. I will say, like, right out of the gate, some of the biggest benefits that came from that pause is like when we did come back to the office, it was very clear the cracks that existed inside of our business. And that's such a gift just to like almost pressure test where the business was at without you there. And you realize what areas of the business you're kind of propping up with your effort. And if that's like what you want to do, like if you want to be the person who has that role and that responsibility inside of your business, that's one thing. But for us, we're trying to create a business that we own and that actually can run pretty well without us. We still want to be involved with a lot of things with culture and vision and stuff like that. But there was areas that Dan specifically was kind of holding up. And when we stepped out, it was very clear because the results in that area of our business kind of dropped a little bit.
Yeah, for me, we went to Northern California with the family and just got sunshine, hung out by the pool, and did a lot of nothing, honestly. We did a 3-day camping trip, but we were just like hanging out, totally decompressing. And same thing, it was like 2 weeks of just like being able to get to the spot of feeling decompressed. And then the third week, like I was saying earlier, I had all these ideas. I was able to connect with a friend who's like 3 times ahead in business, like bigger company, and has acquired businesses. So I just got all this new vision for what I want to build and what I want to create, and thought completely different too from how I'd been thinking previously, like
Mm.
leading up to that point. Cause leading up to that point, I was like, how can we optimize these things that we built in place to get to the next level? But then getting outside perspective, taking a pause and just reassessing everything. Like, what if there's other paths and easier ways to get there, that are completely outside the box of what we've been currently doing? So it's cool to kind of live in that new space and get almost entirely different vision in a lot of areas.
Yeah. I was going to say one thing. I know we've been working on like vision, kind of collaborating together. And one thing that was most powerful for me personally from you guys coming back was the sense of energy shifted, like just to one, just more energy overall, more confidence, more direction, but then also a clearer vision. Like you guys came back and it's like, I don't know exactly the details of the vision, but I definitely can like energetically feel it from a team level because it's like they're back and they have a they have a direction. There's things that they're working on and moving and grooving, which is just I don't know. It's always very encouraging and really really good. Yeah, from like
Yeah.
a team level.
Well, I love that you brought that up, and you're very good at feeling the environment and understanding things at that level. But the team is in general, whether they realize that or not. So I think it's important for founders to understand that you could say all the right things, but if your energy is not there, everyone knows it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Everyone knows it.
totally. So, Brittany, what does pausing for you typically look like?
Man, so it depends on what I need in this season of where I'm at. But on my day to day, a lot of times it's just having boundaries. So recently, like a couple weeks ago, I found myself, I had the Slack app and Circle app on my phone and I would be checking that like I would Instagram app or something at like 8 and 9 o'clock at night or soon as I woke up. And I had to kind of check myself. And I was like, "Oh, I'm doing that thing again that I do sometimes because, there was a lot of growth that's been going on with the company and a lot more people I'm managing right now. So I was kind of in that reactive state. So it's just more taking gentle inventory and being like, okay, I can't be doing this. It doesn't result in a better Brittany. So I remove those off of my phone at a certain time now during the day. So
That's
that's
a good
one
idea.
starting point. And then like my weekends being very intentionally off and restorative. So there is a direct correlation to the more I am doing from a creative or a leadership or a systems output, the more I need to do in self-care.
Mm.
So I know myself now. So it's like, okay, I need to get more into yoga. I need to go for more walks. I need to journal more. This is another like I'm just doing like more simple day-to-day stuff, but something else as a high achiever I started doing a few years ago was starting hobbies or doing things without a end result or without the desire to make any form of income. So for years this is so funny to talk about. But for years, I would start a hobby for fun. And then I'd be like, how do I make money from this? And then it would end up being a business. And I was like, dang it. This is, so like I
When you
paint.
hate it.
Yeah, exactly. And then I'm like, dang it. I used to like this. Exactly. So like I will paint to decompress. And I don't even have an end result in my mind of what I want it to look like. I do it because I enjoy the process. More recently, this is a fun one. I have picked up nonfiction books. So I love to read. And then I typically read nonfiction. And the reason is because I say it's a waste of time if I'm not learning or, being productive or, sharpening a skill or whatever. Well, recently I picked up reading fiction books. So I've read hundreds of nonfiction. So I'm sorry, I messed that up, but I'm reading fiction books just for fun and to enjoy it and like to be in the moment. So I've been taking some like long weekends with my husband. We typically like to be in nature in a more secluded area is kind of my vibe. Like I like to be near water and nature. And I just bring a couple books along and I like to read and chill out and not have an agenda. So it's kind of like my restorative process. Oh, wow. I have a lot of different kinds. But then I also have systems built in to my month. So I get my nails done once every 3 weeks. I have a monthly massage service. So I like have to take care of myself.
Yeah.
Let's go.
But that's like
Yeah.
everything what we're saying comes from a place of self-awareness and doing all the wrong things and hitting burnout, right?
100%. The whole reason I'm here and can talk about this is because I did all the wrong things the first go around. And then
Same.
I,
But that's what's so cool about this journey is the journey of self-awareness and figuring out
Mm,
what you need and what makes you thrive. Because what makes me thrive is completely different from like what makes Josh, our COO, thrive. Like he just loves being in his office from like 8 to 6 with the
yeah,
windows shut, and like he loves that. But then he's very structured about everything. Like he'll take 3 days off every quarter and just have a personal retreat completely to himself. So he has structures that he knows himself and what makes him thrive. So it just looks different for everyone of what that looks like for you individually. And, for me, I just like to have freedom in my schedule. If I have a ton of meetings for the week, I'm immediately drained. Or I
yeah, for
can't
sure.
just go do something that comes up and have a sense of freedom. So it's funny though, because like developing self-awareness, like to go back to the beginning, is one of the first things you have to do to avoid burnout and to get your needs met through the journey of
Yeah.
business.
I think when I went through my journey, the first initial step for me was with my boutique, my emotions followed my sales, which is
Mm,
never a good place to be. So my first initial step was how do I just get to the point of regulation, not
Mm.
being happy or creative or any of these other things we're talking about. It's like, how do I just get regulated and just become more in that state more often? And then from that baseline, we could have these kind of conversations, right? But if you're in that reactionary survival, your nervous system's all over the place, your emotions are all over the place, it's really difficult to kind of have self awareness. So, a practical tool, just because I love coaching, so part of what I do. So, you guys are going to get next steps if you're listening. I created a like what makes me happy list or like a love it list. And it's a notepad. I have like my notes on my iPhone and I created it when I had a weekend off and I felt good. Don't create it when you're feeling low energy or depressed or anything. And it's a whole list of things that I just know that I really enjoy that can get me back into a place of regulation and creativity.
mm.
So I think if you guys are listening, a really practical tool is starting that list and then save it on your iPhone or whatever device you have, and then refer back to that. And for some of mine, it's like make yourself a matcha tea. Like it's simple. It's nothing too crazy. It's not book a trip to Disney. It's small things that I know that I enjoy.
Love
Yeah.
that for you.
Thank you.
Me too. That's a good idea.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Do you guys feel like this is a good point to end or any other kind of takeaways from your
You know what,
on your
Brittany? I
way?
think that's such a good thing to end on so people have tangibles they can go do right now based on what you just said.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. So be sure to create that list. And then on your social media channels, I would love for y'all to tag us at Shapanova. And we can go and check out your list and we can also share ours too. So I'd love for you guys to do that.
Love it. Thanks, Brittany. Thanks, Robbie.
Sweet.
See
Thank
you
you.
guys.
See y'all.
Thanks for tuning in to the E-com Growth Show, where clarity replaces chaos and strategy fuels freedom. If today's episode sparked any idea or gave you a clear next step, we'd love for you to subscribe, share it with a fellow brand owner, and leave a review so more entrepreneurs can grow with intention, not overwhelm. For more resources and real talk on scaling your Shopify brand the smart way, follow us on Instagram at Shopanova. Until next time, keep growing with purpose.